Right in those other files. All right.
I think it's supposed to be what, live stream?
State of Michigan versus Joshua Dye. Two four F5 5557. Mr. Dye, could you please state your name for the record?
Joshua Dye.
Okay, I have your, I'm not going to put your mailing address or your contact information on the record because we are on YouTube, but did you provide information, contact information to Ms. Vergils when you met with her?
Yes.
Okay, do we have that?
Oh, yeah, I'm sorry.
All right, I have a phone number, an email, and a mailing address for you. I will update your file with that information on it. You may, I will sign the petition requesting a court-appointed lawyer. You may proceed when you're ready, Ms. Vergils.
Thank you, Your Honor. Assistant Public Defender Chelsea Vergils with and on behalf of Joshua Dye. We would waive a formal reading of the complaint, stand mute, and ask to address bond.
Go ahead, Ms. Robbins.
Your Honor, this is based on an incident from March 24th. The allegations in this.
I took the testimony on it. You can say whatever you want to, but I did take the testimony.
Okay. I will try to be brief, but I do want to
Okay.
note that the allegations are that the defendant shot an unarmed person with no prior connection, no altercation at 2 p.m. on a Sunday at Maine, right downtown. As the individual is getting into the car and attempting to close the door. The detective is here today, and I will ask him to address his concerns about public safety. But I know that he did speak with the victim and the victim's mother yesterday, and the consequences for this victim are severe. Has been in and out of the hospital, 2 surgeries. These charges are obviously very significant. In terms of his criminal history, it also supports the concerns about a risk to public safety, a child abuse first conviction from 2009 that involved a 2-year-old child, and the facts of that case are devastating. In 2022, he had an MDOPP that had several weapons charges dismissed. In 2023, breaking and entering conviction in which he met a woman that day, was subsequently arrested for disorderly, but when released, went to her house, pounded on the door, climbed through a child's window with the young children at home. All of these really highlight our concerns about public safety and support our request for a $1 million surety bond and no contact with Sarah Martin or Robert Edwards. Detective, I'd love for you to fill in a little bit about your concerns and anything that I missed here.
Certainly. I'm happy to do that. Brad Rougeau. I'm a detective at the Ann Arbor Police Department, and I'm here to represent the concerns of the citizens of Ann Arbor and of the police department. I will probably go over some things that Ms. Robbins already mentioned, but I want to make sure that I cover it. I do think that Mr. Dye presents a significant risk to the community were he out and about. As Ms. Robbins mentioned, this was an unprovoked violent incident with a firearm that happened on a Sunday afternoon in downtown Ann Arbor. There were numerous witnesses to this. It was captured on video. Witnesses include a family with young children walking back from the Hands-On Museum. We have no information that these individuals had any prior contact before this date or really even on that date. The victim in this case the facts will show that he was actually trying to walk away from the situation and get into his car, and he was essentially chased down and stalked and then shot as he was trying to remove himself from this situation. As a result of this, he did sustain serious injuries. He was in the hospital for multiple days, has endured multiple surgeries, and will have a lengthy recovery due to his injuries. Frankly, were it not for the fact that we were within such close proximity to a level 1 trauma center and that officers arrived so quickly, he may not be alive today. Mr. Dye does have a significant criminal history, to include juvenile adjudications for assault with intent to do great bodily harm, less than murder or strangulation. 2 of those, 2 convictions for child abuse in the 1st degree. And in order to be convicted of that, it requires that he knowingly or intentionally caused serious physical harm to a child. This was a purposeful act. I did read the report, and as Ms. Robbins indicated, the facts of this case are devastating. He did serve 10 years in the Michigan Department of Correction as a result of that, and he is currently on probation out of the 15th District Court here in Ann Arbor. As far as flight risk, I can't argue that he doesn't have ties to the community. However, I don't know that he has a stable place where he would be. He provided an address to me of the homeless shelter when I spoke with him. However, he has been trespassed from the homeless shelter. So that's not going to be a possibility for him at this point in time. I'm also
that's because of what's already
No,
called.
Mr. Dye,
you'll
it's
have an
not your time to
opportunity.
talk. It's not your time to talk, sir. Go ahead, Detective Rougeau.
I'm sorry. He has been trespassed from the shelter. A previous report that I was also assigned listing Mr. Dye as a witness had indicated that he was an employee of the Delana Center, and the 15th District Court and I think probation were also under that impression. But in speaking with the director of the shelter, I was told that he never has worked there. Also, other addresses provided for Mr. Dye is Lanny, which is the Department of Health and Human Services building where nobody actually lives. Mr. Dye was apprehended yesterday by the United States Marshal Service, particularly the Detroit Fugitive Apprehension Team, at an address here in Washtenaw County. So, I mean, frankly, if he were to be out and he were to fail to appear to court, we wouldn't have no idea where to go to start looking for him. And that is problematic for me. In speaking with the victim, he has great concerns for his safety were Mr. Dye to be out. He's concerned that he could run into him someplace and maybe be caused harm again, because really we don't know what precipitated this situation, or at least he doesn't know. It's for all of these reasons that I do think a $1 million bond, surety bond, is appropriate in this situation. And thank you for allowing me to address this.
Thank you, Detective Rougeau. Go ahead, Ms. Vergils.
Thank you, Your Honor. So I did speak with my client this morning and informed him of these charges, which are very serious. First, I wanted to address there is a previous or 2 previous child abuse convictions. And again, I wouldn't want to diminish those very serious convictions, but just to point out that they were 15 years ago, I believe, and my client has moved on from that. He is able to have custody of his 3-year-old child, who he doesn't have full custody, but he sees her every weekend. And the child also lives in Ann Arbor. My client informed me that he currently works at a restaurant in Ann Arbor. He had been staying at the Delana Center, and my client's impression is that he would be able to go back there once this case is resolved. But I think there may be the possibility of him being able to stay at a different shelter. But regardless, he does receive mail at the Towner address. He goes to CMH every other week for therapy. He also drug tests for probation. As you're probably aware, my client is currently on probation, so I would ask for you to set the smallest possible cash bond in this case. My client is homeless, so A $1 million bond, I would argue is excessive, and something smaller would keep him in custody. And I've spoken to him about not paying the bond set until his probation violation is resolved. We have no objection to any no contact or no go to order. Thank you, Your Honor.
All right, Mr. Dye, there are two things that the court should consider when setting bond. One is flight risk. That is whether or not the defendant will come back to court. Will the defendant participate in proceedings against him or her? And then the second part is danger to the community. Does the defendant present an ongoing danger to members of the community? Will there be further criminal behavior? I don't know whether you specifically are a flight risk. You have a history of failing to appear in court, and you have a very unstable residency situation now that you can't stay at the shelter. So I think that that's something that the court should be concerned with, is your potential flight risk. And more importantly, though, is the danger to the community. As I said at the beginning of this hearing, I took the testimony from the police officer, from Detective Rougeau, at the time that these charges were authorized against you. And my habit is to ask questions if I think that there's something that I will want to know about at the time that I'm handling the arraignment. And I did ask a few questions, and my understanding of the situation as presented to me is that there was a person perhaps unknown to you who for some reason was involved in peripherally involved in an altercation between you and another person. And when that individual got back in his car to leave the situation, there was a shooting where you are accused of shooting that person while he was sitting in his car. Whether you know that person or not, any shooting by any person who is willing to use a firearm against another person in a situation where their own life is not in danger presents an ongoing danger to the community. That willingness to fire a gun at another person, there's no reason for me to think that won't be limited to this one incident. So I am going to adopt the prosecutor's recommendation. I am adopting the prosecutor's recommendation. The bond is $1 million cash or surety. I understand that means that you can, that you will not be able to leave the jail. I recognize that is what that means for you. Your bond can be addressed as the case proceeds. While you are in bond, you are not to use illegal drugs, purchase or possess any firearms, weapons, or ammunition. No contact with the alleged victims, Sarah Martin and Robert Edwards. Do not go to, I'm not going to put the victim's address on the YouTube. Do not go to the home of Mr. Edwards, and do not go to the Delanis Center. Do not leave the state of Michigan without permission of the court. No criminal behavior, no assaultive behavior. Your court date will be on April 18th. And you are all set with me. When you're ready, you can stand up and walk to the door.